Nick here with Sigma World. Sitting beside me is Ben Keirle with 1account, changing up ID as we know it.
That's the idea, yep.
So it's all digital identity, making things easier for the player, making things easier for the operator. We're hoping that's why you're here, right?
That's right, yeah. So 1account provides an eKYC validation platform where we validate player attribute data submitted by players at the point of registration on gambling websites. That information is then passed to us through a live digital channel called an API. And that information is then processed and validated against data sources like electoral rolls or voter registration places or lender data such as credit reference agencies. And then once we validate those player attributes, we send the information back down the API channel back to the operators as validated status, so that player can then be legally and compliantly onboarded.
Wonderful. You guys started off in 2018, spent 2 hours developing the site, the platform, and then you went into e-commerce, after which you decided that the gambling vertical was one place where you wanted to be, where EID could be useful. You set up an advisory board. Please tell me more.
Yeah, so I think it was 2 years rather than 2 hours that we actually developed the thing for. And then we put together an advisory board at the beginning of last year. The advisory board, unlike a sort of traditional board of directors that might look after the interests of a shareholder, we put together an advisory board to help us make sure that we were positioning the right products for the right markets. Gambling is obviously a big and complex vertical to enter. So the advisory board we put together included probably two industry figures you'd know would be Ralph Topping, who used to be the CEO of William Hill for about 15 years, and Simon Bazalgette, who was the
Jockey Club.
Jockey Club, that's right, CEO of the Jockey Club. And so those guys come on board and we sanity check, if you like, the products and services that we're bringing to market. And then, of course, naturally, they open a lot of doors for us as well, being who they are and who they're connected to. And so that's worked out really well for us as a business.
Great. And in terms of lead building, that's what you're doing here in order to build in. So currently you're live and certain betting operators are able to use you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we've been doing proof of concepts all summer. I think we've probably done half a dozen or maybe 8. We've been really lucky actually in that the technology's performed exactly how we'd hope it would in terms of, so what an operator's looking for when they're comparing us versus another provider is, do we enable them to onboard more players compliantly and legally than an existing or an incumbent provider? And we're outperforming the market on average between 8 and 12%. So if an average operator's looking at onboarding 100,000 players in a year and we can give them an uplift of 10%, that's 10,000 more players and a gross gaming yield of £200 or £300 per year, all of a sudden those 10,000 players are making millions of pounds worth of difference on the bottom line. So our job this week is to talk to operators or companies that need KYC, generate those leads and start conducting more of those proof of concepts with a view to then moving to integration later.
Great. Could you give us a better idea of how exactly it's going to work? So they get the EID with you first, is that correct? And then they're able to onboard that individual to their platform. Is that how it works?
Not quite. So there are two. So we have several different products. So eKYC is player attributes. So you go to a gambling operator, you insert name, address, and date of birth. That's pushed down the API to us. We validate it and push the information back. If that's not enough, or if, for example, if you're regulated by e-money license regulation, for example, then data source checks aren't sufficient enough for KYC. It has to be an ID verification of an identity document, so that's eIDVT. Or, as we said before, from a digital ID point of view, that customer is actually a digital identity customer of 1account first, and then they would use that data. So the way that it works is that an operator would be pitched, if you like, by us for one of or three of these products. And the proof of concept is simply a case of the operator provides to us 2,000 or 3,000 lines of player data, which we then run through the system to then procure what would be a would-be kind of pass rate. And then if that's sufficient for them, then they'll move to a live integration.
Cool. You mentioned the timeline, 3 to 5 years just prior to the interview. What's going to happen with the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's a good question. So lots of countries, actually. The UK, unlike the UK, we don't have national or government issued ID in the UK, as when most other countries do. Most of those countries now, a lot of them are either in development or have already launched their own version of a digital identity. So Ukraine, for example, has a digital identity. UAE has digital ID. Colombia has digital ID. Those governments are now creating an infrastructure for commerce and businesses to be able to integrate with them to be able to pull that data. So as a Colombian national, for example, I would be able to go to a gambling website and register for a bet account using my electronic digital ID issued by the government. We believe that people will hold not just a digital ID issued by government, but by private entities like us as well, that will enable them to do more. That's what this consultation discusses that we did last year, which talks about what extra things will a digital ID do that government-issued digital identities won't, such as if you're a gambler, for example, you've got 6 or 7 betting accounts, you'll be able to synchronise your net deposit position and see how much your net wins and losses are as a player over time, which is something a government's never going to be able to kind of offer. So people will look to private digital identity companies like 1account or other companies like that do what we do to be able to do more with their digital identity they've been able to do before.
Great, and we're all looking forward to looking more towards 1account and what you can do in order to get us to the 110% of where we are at the moment. How has Sigma been for you?
Really good, actually. Yeah, it's day 3, so everyone's flagging a little bit. Parties go on pretty late, but I think we've done something like 75 qualified leads in the first 2 days, which is way more than we'd have expected to do. So Sigma's been really good for us.
Wonderful, and please talk to me about the island of Malta, the country of Malta. Paradise of Malta?
Do you know what? Actually, funnily enough, I've got a Maltese cross ring. I've been coming here since I was 8 years old. Actually, I know I really love the place. It's ironic that you would say that, but I love the place. Although I don't think the weather's been great this week, is it?
Cool, and we're going to have you back again and again and again. Wonderful. Nick, signing off from Sigma World. Thank you very much to Ben Keirle and 1account.
Cheers.